Okay, for the remaining of our reading today, it's actually going to fit with what we've been doing in writing. And we are going to be looking at the opinion of someone else and seeing if it fits your opinion as well. So we are going to be in our activity notebook, and this is activity 11.3. You guys can all flip to it. It's page 127, so it's just the next page in your activity notebook. And we are going to be reading about Pompeii. What is it?
Pompeii.
Now, many authors write about topics that they enjoy and they have a lot of passion for. How many of you, in your past at least, have written about things that you have a passion for, that you enjoy? That's oftentimes what's going to happen with writing is it's things that you like. And with our opinion writing, it really doesn't stem too far from that. You can put your hands down. When you write about a topic you really enjoy or that you have a passion for, authors tend to have a point of view on that topic. So whether you're writing that you really, really love it or that you feel strongly another way towards it, that you don't like something as much. For example, earlier in the unit, each of you had to write about a statue built in Rome, right? Mm-hmm. You all picked, and we ended up narrowing it down to Cupid, Mars, Venus, or Jupiter. And you picked one of those characters from ancient Roman times, and you wrote about why they should have a statue built about them. This is driving me nuts right now. It's okay. You wrote about why they should have a statue built about them. You had to determine a point of view on the topic. So you had to determine your point of view. You gave an opinion. Which of these Roman gods or goddesses deserve this statue built about them? That is your point of view, your thoughts about the topic on it. Authors are going to include facts and opinions in writing. And you guys had to do that too. You gave the opinion about, hey, Venus deserves a statue built over them, but then you supported it with facts. A fact is something that can be proven to be true. So say that with me. A fact is something that can be proven. An opinion is what you think or believe. An opinion is what you
think or believe.
So I'm going to ask you some. What do you think is the worst natural disaster in the entire world? Kason, what do you think was the worst natural disaster in the entire world? Okay, so he's saying this. We'll read some more. What do you think, Joey? He thinks Hurricane Katrina. Hurricanes are awful storms. They cause a lot of damage. Hurricane Katrina is one that's not necessarily your lifetime, but more in recent times. It's a huge one. That was a terrible natural disaster. What do you think? The tsunami, do you have a specific tsunami you're thinking of? So there was that Japanese tsunami that happened not too long ago. I actually had a teacher from Japan at the time, and our class was ended early, and she went back to Japan with some cleanup because it really affected her family and her home. And after that tsunami, there was there was a bunch of damage, but there was nuclear damage as well because some of their nuclear plants caused more damage. It was a total disaster, and it broke my heart for her because I felt like it was one of the first foreign natural disasters that I had a personal connection to because someone I knew was deeply affected by it, and it was scary. Kyler.
A tornado.
So there are different tornadoes, lots of tornadoes. They can cause very big disasters. Great. Ray. Giant earthquakes are huge natural disasters. Yes.
COVID-19.
What's that one?
This one.
Oh, COVID. I didn't know what you said. COVID-19. So that's not a natural disaster by any means at all. That's a pandemic, which is health related. So you're thinking of something that's terrible, though. Third graders, hands down for now. Awesome job coming up with some different disasters. Today, we're going to read about Pompeii. And as I read through this today, I want you guys to be thinking about what is the author's point of view? How does the author feel about Pompeii? Okay? I want you to think about why the author writes this passage about Pompeii. I want you to think about how the author feels about Pompeii. And I want you to think, do you agree with the author? Okay? So I'm going to read it to you. You ready? You can follow along in your book as well, as I would like you to do. I'll wait till all eyes are in your own books on page 127. Follow along, please. Pompeii is the worst natural disaster in the history of the world. Already, can you start to see what the author's opinion is?
Yeah.
Okay. On August 24th, in the year of 79 CE, follow along, the people of Pompeii woke up and went to work. In the distance, the people of Pompeii could see the top of Mount Vesuvius. There, Mount Vesuvius. The mountain was like an old friend, but this friend had a terrible secret. The people of Pompeii did not know that Mount Vesuvius was actually a volcano. Around midday, the ground began to tremble and shake. Boom! Flames and smoke burst from the top of Mount Vesuvius. Flakes of ash and bits of rock called pumice showered down. It swept over them and wiped out the city. The volcano erupted for 19 hours. Oh, sorry, I missed a spot, didn't it? Many people tried to run away. The people of Pompeii could not outrun it. It swept over them, wiped out the city. The volcano erupted for 19 hours. The city of Pompeii was burned. For more than 1,500 years, the city lay beneath ash. Today, much of Pompeii has been excavated or dug up. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius was a disaster for the people who lived in Pompeii, but it was a marvelous thing for historians who study the past. By visiting Pompeii and studying the city, historians have learned a great deal about life in ancient Rome. So, a few questions there that we talked about. Why do you think the author wrote this passage about Pompeii? So that question of why. Why did the author write this passage about Pompeii? Turn and discuss with your neighbors that why factor. 3, 2, 1. Now, why did the author choose to write this passage? When we say passage, it's like article or selection. Why did the author choose to write this passage about Pompeii? Charlie.
To tell us more about Pompeii, the natural disaster.
Okay, to tell us about Pompeii, the natural disaster, right? How many of you ever heard of it before? So that natural disaster is an occurrence of what caused this natural disaster? A volcano, Mount Vesuvius. They didn't know it was a volcano. It was a volcano, right? And so the author chose to write about this to tell you more about it. As we continue on, how does the author feel about this? Stop playing with our erasers and writing right now. How does the author feel about this topic? Turn and discuss again. How does the author feel? Aiden, please be with it. Three, two, one. How does the author feel about this, or really their point of view on this? What is their point of view on this? Can we find it in the passage? Yeah, we definitely can. Put your finger on it in the passage. If you just discussed it with your neighbor, you should be able to find it pretty easy. Where do we find it in the passage, guys? That very first sentence. Read it with me. Pompeii is the worst natural disaster in the history of the world. Right there, we learn their opinion, right? We learn how they feel about this topic. I want you to think, do you agree with the author? Or do you think there are worse natural disasters that have happened? It's okay. No one's asking you to agree because this is what? This is an opinion. Perfect. I love your guys' thinking, and some of you even said this to begin with. If you have more knowledge of this, you might agree with it more than if you didn't. Would you agree? Like Brock, do you think it's the worst natural disaster or no? Brock doesn't, but you have background knowledge. You know a little bit more about it, right? Did you read Surviving?
Yeah.
Perfect. So there's an I Survived book on this. Kaysen says yes, he thinks this is the worst. Did you also read the I Survived on this? So they have a little more background knowledge. They might know a little bit more. Some of you might know of a natural disaster that's worse. Now, natural disasters are going to be things that happen because of nature, and that's that natural disaster. So tornadoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, those are all natural disasters. They happen because of nature. Today, what we are going to do is take this reading, and we're going to answer some questions, okay? We've talked about it. On the back side here, we have some questions. The first one, what is the author's point of view about Pompeii? Did we find it in the text?
Yeah.
Yes, so can you write the author's point of view and then tell how can you tell? We can tell because it's, we can tell because it's, we can tell how the author feels because it's
In the text.
fabulous. Down below, do you agree with the author?
No.
That it's about their opinion? Why or why not? So this is where you would say, yes, I agree because, or no, I do not agree because. And then at that point, do you think you should probably list what you think the worst natural disaster would be? Yes. And then what are 2 facts in the article? Go back and look for 2 facts. And then what is the opinion in this article? So what is the author's opinion that comes up in this article? This is your job. And as you finish, you may turn it in. Go for it.
So the first question, it's kind of like doing text evidence.
Exactly. The third one is text evidence. So going back into the text and finding 2 facts. Fabulous. This is your job to work on.